Hello everybody, welcome to Builder Buy. I'm Gil Boyd, your host, and I'm going to share with you a movie that I hope you find interesting because two things we like at Builder Buy are computer technology and our movies. And this is one that's on Amazon Prime. It is the Jack Ryan, and it's available in 4K. Now getting it to play in 4K, that's an issue. I'm going to show you some of the stuff I found. If it works, great. If it doesn't, it still looks good in 1080. It's an interesting movie. It's got eight different episodes in this series, and this is the first season. Now, if they decide to charge for the next season extra, I'll find something else to watch. But right now, I've seen this 3 times, and I think it's amazing. So I'm going to bring this up and show you how they describe it. Okay, Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan. Now, as we talk about this movie, there's actually 3 movies I'm going to mention. One, this one, Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan, and 2 others I'm going to get into as this unfolds that I think you'll enjoy. Now, the other 2 are 1080, but that's okay. This one is available in 4K. Now, if you go to the website, you'll find this, and it talks about Amazon Prime. And when CIA analyst Jack Ryan stumbles upon a suspicious series of bank transfers, his search for answers pulls him from the safety of his desk job and catapults him into a deadly game of cat and mouse throughout Europe and the Middle East, with a rising terrorist figurehead preparing for a massive attack against the U.S. and our allies. This is a wild movie. You're in for a wild ride. It's worth the binge watch. The first time I watched it in 2 days. The second time I watched it in 3 days. And I got beginning at 1080 of the second time. It then went into 4K. But then when I watched the second time, the second half, 2 weeks later, it was 1080 for all the rest of the episodes. Then when I turned around and watched it the third time, it was all 4K. So I don't know how they figure that out, but this is on our Samsung TV, and of course you're going to want to have a sound bar. Right now we still have the Bose. I'm leaning towards something else, but I've got the Bose working. I had to do something else to tweak it to make it work. It got to where it wasn't working, but this movie is amazing. John Krasinski is the star of it. Now, if you don't remember John Krasinski, this is movie number 2. This 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi, based on a true story. Semper Fi. That's one to watch. That movie is only available in 1080, but it's worth it. Now, this particular movie, I'm going to flip over to the other screen, and we're going to go to Amazon Prime, and I'm going to talk to you about each episode. So we're going to change our inputs. We're going to go to Amazon Prime. And what you're going to find on Amazon Prime, it should have the movie listed. And this will give me a chance to bring up movie number 3. Now, if you'll see, it says over here, watch next new series. I don't know when we pull this up if it will come up in 4K. What I can say is there was a trailer. If it's still available, it's worth watching. But when you go from one segment to the next, those credits play in 1080, but then it'll pop up in 4K. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. But while I'm at it to tell you about the third movie, if you were to decide, and I'll give this as a teaser right now, do a search on Tom Clancy. Tom Clancy. Go up there and do a search on Tom Clancy. There's a third movie you got to watch. It's only like a 30-minute, but it leaves you wanting for more. It's a really good action movie. Now, as far as Jack Ryan, as the Honorable Clarence Thomas would say, Jack Ryan's an honorable man. Fascinating story. You get some in the pilot about who he is, some background, but the story doesn't fully develop until you watch each episode. Now, in episode 2, let's bring this up and see if it'll show us in 4K. And there's no way to change it. It'll either work or it doesn't. Okay, it shows I was getting ready to see episode 4 again. And the trailer that used to be up here, they've taken it down. That's a shame. That trailer was good. Should have captured it. And I will say while I'm talking about this, every episode has pivots. You see the drama. You see the people. I would like to have seen the story developed more with the terrorist about how that all unfolded. I don't fully agree with how that jump went, but I think that was just a cop-out. I'd like to see more of that. One backstory that developed in episode 3, and episode 3 is probably the most pivotal, but episode 3 and 4, I'd like to capture those and re-edit them. There's some junk in there I didn't care for. Some of the stuff with the story about the drone pilot, I didn't care for. But the thing that I really got a kick out of, and I didn't realize it until the third time, was some of the humor. Some of the names you're going to hear, like, when he calls him by the name of a cyclist, you'll get it when you hear it. Another name he uses is, he calls him an idiot savant. You can listen for that and you'll know what I'm talking about. But then there's another character that's one of the good guys that comes in, and he's real into Garth Brooks. So watch and pay attention. And now this is something else to be aware of. You got to watch the timeline and you've got to watch the sequence of events, because in the very beginning, you're in the past, then you jump back to the present. But when you're in the present, you'll jump from different countries. You'll go from Syria to Washington, D.C. And this was shot, I believe, in 4 different countries. I believe Canada, France, Morocco, and Washington, D.C. So as you're watching this, you're going to see him jump around Europe. Some of the stuff in France was pretty cool. But the way the story about Jack Ryan develops, he's the good guy. And the way he tries to rationalize and reason with why he's doing what he's doing, every time I saw it, I got more into it. But the language is a little strong. I consider this probably rated R. There's some nudity. The first nudity I get, I understand that. The rest of the nudity, the kids don't need to see that. It's an adult movie. It's brief, but it's there. And some of the language. Now, the language in episode 1, I get that. I'm with it 100%. But some of the other language, in places, I think they could have dialed it back. But my biggest problem is with some of the nudity. It just, this is not a kid-friendly movie. This is an adult movie. But it's a great series if you decide to watch it. But I didn't really get the humor, like I said, until episode 3. Now, in episode 1, this is the pilot. And you don't fully get what's going on, but what I will say is when you see him laying there in the bed with the metronome, tick, 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 and I know his heart's just racing, you can feel the tension, you can feel the anxiety, and he's trying to stay grounded in the moment because he's reliving the past. He's one of 12 that survived. This guy, even though he's a desk jockey now, this guy is a Marine. And it's kind of interesting when he meets his girlfriend. I mean, he's a desk jockey, and all of a sudden this helicopter comes in to take him back to his desk jockey job. That, too, is pretty cool. So you got to see every one of the episodes, and it's definitely worth the binge watch. Probably each episode averages roughly 50 minutes. The first episode is the longest. I think the first episode's about an hour, but after that, the episodes are like 45 to 50 minutes. But if you can see 3 and then maybe 2 or 3 and then the last one. The first episode is the pilot. The second episode is French Connection. Episode number 3, which is Black 22, that's where the drone pilot comes in. Some of the stuff with the drone pilot was interesting. It reminds me Al Massey, who was a Vietnam fighter pilot. For those of you that remember Al, God bless him, God rest his soul. He used to talk about, as a fighter pilot, you never see your target. You fire a missile and you're off. You never see the target. And then you've got snipers. Snipers are one-on-one. They know every shot. They know every kill. And the drone pilot is kind of in the middle. And this drone pilot, I keep making a big deal about him, he's a pilot wannabe. Instead, he becomes a drone pilot. Well, if he is typical of what's going on, he's got his head all mixed up. He needs to get his head in the game, and he needs some training as a sniper so he can understand what he's doing. Looked like a neat job, but he was having issues with it. So you got the pilot, episode 1, episode 2, the French Connection, number 3, Black 22, that's where the drone pilot comes in, number 4, the Wolf, number 5, End of Honor. And you don't fully understand where Jack Ryan's coming from until you get really all the way through it until the end, as you understand when he's going through that anxiety attack, what he's dealing with. And when he's confronted with some of the stuff that's going on with the Wolf, it's just, it gets pretty wicked. Then episode 5 is End of Honor, episode 6 is Sources and Methods, and then episode 7, The Boy, and he's haunted by this boy that he has to deal with about what happened and why it happened, that you do the right thing for the right reason, but you don't always get the right outcome, but you still keep trying to do the right thing for the right reason. And then you got the episode 8, Inshallah, they call it. So let's see if this will come up. Okay, if you'll notice, it says down here HDR, Ultra HD. Ultra HD, that is 4K. So this is going to play, and if you'll see up here at the top, Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan, Season 1, Ultra HD. That is going to play in 4K. If your TV is not getting the 4K, then you may need a firmware update, in which case I'd say your TV needs to be hardwired to do that. Firmware can be done automatic. It can be done from the menu. I've talked some about that with our Samsung Smart TV. When it works, it's great. But there is no setting that you can manually make this happen. It sees the TV and either works or it doesn't. And like I said, I've seen this. This is probably the 4th or 5th time I've had this up. And I haven't looked at this in probably 7 days. And it's coming right up. HDR, Ultra HD. And it looks amazing in 1080, but it looks great in 4K. And you need to have a sound bar and be ready for the sound because the special effects are wicked cool. It's interesting, I mentioned the effects. From an operational procedure standpoint, there are probably, I'll say, 3 places where from an operational standpoint, we learned some things from World War II. When some of the rookies would come in and ask, why are you killing the dead Nazis? Why are you shooting dead Nazis? To make sure they stay dead. And you'll get my drift on that when you see what happens. And there's some other, like I said, there's 2 other places, but it gets pretty tense, it gets pretty tight. But some of the stuff, as it moves around from the past, the present, to the future, and as it changes countries, you got to really pay attention, because there is no slow stuff in here, and everything matters. But it is a blast, it is a trip, and it's a wild ride. Let's get to the next spot. Now, as the movie's playing, if you decide to hit the pause button, this will pop up, and it'll show the credits for whoever the actors are within that segment, which is kind of interesting. After you've seen it 3 or 4 times, then it's easier to do, but in the beginning, just watch it, sit back and enjoy, and get some popcorn. Bathroom one direction, kitchen the other. When you got your own big screen, and 4K looks better on a 65-inch or bigger. Joe Winry always said that, so does Nick Streeter, Jerry Lee, and so did Tom Tyner. Let's get that to play from the beginning. Prime Original. Yep, it's going to play in 4K. Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan, based on characters by Tom Clancy. Now, I'm not going to go any more into this, but what I'm going to do is exit out of this and go back to the search, because I want to show you something else. But this is in 4K. It's on Amazon Prime. If you got Amazon, it's worth watching. If you don't, you can get it. You can get Amazon Prime 30 days for free. And the original reason we had Amazon Prime was for deliveries. It would be nice if they actually did the deliveries in the time frame they said. Doesn't always happen. But when it works, it's great. But when it doesn't, I guess we're spoiled. But as an added benefit, the secondary thing is I keep Amazon Prime because some of these wicked cool movies. And there's some great movies that are coming out right now that you really need to see. But this is one you got to put at the top of your list. Now I'm going to go back, and we're going to do a search. And I'm going to show you what I mean. We're going to do a search on Tom Clancy. T-O-M space C-L-A-N-C-Y. Tom Clancy. And right there, Tom Clancy, Jack Ryan, and here's movie number 2, or movie number 3. Number 1 is really the 13 Hours, Secret Soldiers of Benghazi. Tom Clancy's The Division, Agent Origins. That is a really cool kind of a pilot that it left me wanting more. I've seen that a couple of times. Really good special effects, really good backstory for it to be so short. Now, it's only available in 1080. This came out in 1016. Now, how I originally found this, spent a lot of time looking for a lot of stuff, then I just bookmarked stuff. I saw this, I bookmarked it, I had no idea what it was, punched it up one night. I'll just say, be ready for some good action and some good sound. Turn your sound up. Tom Clancy's The Division, Agent Origins, 31 minutes. Now, they give it 4.5 out of 5 stars. Internet Movie Database gives it 6.2 out of 10. It's worth a watch. You won't be sorry. New York City teeters on the brink of a collapse after being devastated by a pandemic. 4 newly activated agents of a secret organization called The Division must leave their old lives behind to prevent the fall of civilization. Tom Clancy's The Division, Agent Origins, inspired by the groundbreaking video game by Ubisoft. It left me wanting for more. I looked at it as a pilot and said, okay, how about some more? That'd be an easy 1.5 to 2-hour movie. You'd like to see those 4 guys connect with a broader network, not be so isolated. But it's worth watching. And of course, the other one, we'll do a search, and let's get over to the numbers. And all we have to do is punch in 13. I could have punched in Benghazi, but 13 right there. 13 hours. That really is number 1. Now, what kind of stinks is, if I'm going to buy that movie, and it's worth buying, I'm going to buy the Blu-ray so I can rip it, put it on my drive, and watch it anytime I want. I'm not real gun-ho about renting it. This came out in 2016. It got 5 stars. Internet Movie Database, 7.3 out of 10. From the director Michael Bay, 13 Hours is the gripping true story of 6 elite ex-military operators assigned to protect the CIA who fought back against overwhelming odds when terrorists attacked a U.S. diplomatic compound on September the 11th, 2012. And we didn't send anybody in to help. Anyway, true story. God bless the guys that were doing that. And John Krasinski's in this, and some other people you'll recognize. It's well worth watching when you get a chance. But right now on Amazon, it's not free. So, again, this was about Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan in 4K and also in 1080. Hope you enjoyed this. We'll look forward to seeing you next video. We're getting ready to have our live meetings again here starting in November, so I hope you'll join us for that. The live meetings are kind of a different format, a different layout, and a different study. It's a 2-hour program. And we're also going to have some more videos coming up. We're going to do some laptop upgrades. And we've got some stuff behind the scenes for those of you that are interested in Build or Buy behind the scenes. So thanks for watching. I appreciate everyone. Subscribe. I hope you use your time wisely. And depending on the kind of feedback, we'd love to hear from you, hear your thoughts on this. Depending on the feedback we get, we may talk about some more movies because there's some great stuff coming out that I'd love to tell you about. And again, my name's Gil Boyd, Build or Buy. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Have a great day.